Hi, my name is Lars Friis, and this is a step-by-step guide on setting up Microsoft Bing consent mode using cookie information. First of all, we're going to set up the Microsoft tag, then we are implementing the cookie banner, and lastly we're going to implement consent mode. So let's start by setting up the Microsoft tag, and if you go into tags and click new, you can find to search for Microsoft advertising tracking. Then you add your UET ID and you just select page view, and if you go into consent settings you need to fold this out and you need to remove these two check marks because we're going to set up consent mode manually. And the trigger would be, in this case it's just a page view, so we are just going to use all pages and save. Now we're going to install the cookie banner, and this is in templates, and under tag templates we need to use cookie information consent mode version 2. You can find it in the gallery, and we also need to use cookie information consent state, and you can also find that in the gallery. And once we have installed the two templates, we can go into tags and click new and select the cookie information tag. And I would like to add a cookie banner as well, so I use this check mark. And because we are using this, is only for the Bing consent mode, so we don't need to set up any Google consent mode here. So we just need to define the language, and in this case the default language is going to be English. And we can just leave out all the other settings because those are not relevant for the Microsoft tag. The trigger would be in the consent initialization, and we can click save. And I'll just keep the original name. So now we have Microsoft and we have the cookie banner, and we just need to install the Microsoft UET consent mode. And this is also a template. And we go into the gallery and search for UET. And we can find Microsoft UET consent mode. And I'm going to install it. And before I can set the tag, up the tag, I need to set a variable for my advertising consent storage. So I'm going to use the template for cookie information consent state, and I go into variables and I click new. And I click cookie information consent state. And here I select cookie cat marketing. And click save, and I will call this add storage. Save. And this will be true or false depending on if the user has declined or accepted the cookies. The consent tag for Microsoft UET is also just a tag, so we're going to new, and I just search for UET, I select the template we just installed, and I'm going to start by setting up a default and afterwards an update. Default command is just this one, and wait for update, I recommend to set it to 15,000 milliseconds. So the user will have 15 seconds to either decline or accept the cookies. If they take more than 15 seconds interacting with the cookie banner, we will send a default to declined. Status here should be denied because this is the default. And I recommend to check this clarity consent if you're using Microsoft Clarity as well. The trigger should just be as soon as possible, so I would select consent initialization, and I will click save, and I will name it default. Next, we just need to set up the update. So once the consent is defined, so I will just go into new, find UET, and this time I select update, and my add storage should be the variable we just built using cookie information. And I will again select Microsoft Clarity, and this time the trigger is when cookie information is updated. And that event is called cookie_cat_necessary. I just made this before, but it's just a custom event called cookie_cat_necessary. So this would be my trigger, and I can click save, and I will name this update. And now we are actually finished. So I'll just show you now how to verify that it's working correctly. And if you go into your website, we will be verifying by checking if we are setting any cookies from UET, or if we are setting or not setting cookies, depending on consent. So let's go into preview. And we can see now I have loaded the page, and we can see we have the cookie banner. And what I would like to check is if there is any cookies from UET. So I'm going into a right click, and I go into inspect, and then I select application and cookies, and then I find my domain. And in this case, I would like to find any cookies called UET. And we can see that we don't have any cookies. If I accept, we now get 3 cookies. We have a click ID, we have a session ID, and we have a visitor ID. So we can now confirm that we are using consent mode correctly. And we can also try to decline the cookies. Just give me a second, I can go down here and I can decline, and I'll just delete the cookies I have here. And now that I refresh the page with cookies declined, we can see that the cookies has not been recreated.